Taurine was a poor orphan boy who lived in the lower zones of Ralos 3, a mining planet far away from the center of the galaxy. The air was always dusty, the streets were broken, and the buildings looked old and tired. He had no family. His parents had died in a mining accident when he was just 5. Since then, Taurine had grown up alone, working in scrapyards, collecting broken machines and selling parts to survive. He wore the same clothes every day, patched many times by his own hands. His shoes were worn out. Yet his eyes were bright, and his mind was sharp. While others only thought of getting food or sleep, Taurine always dreamed of the stars. He used to sit at night on the roof of his shelter, staring at the sky, wondering what it would be like to fly among the stars. One day, everything changed. It was late afternoon, and Taurine was busy pulling out wires from a broken cleaning robot, when he heard a strange sound. A soft hum filled the air. He looked up and saw something shining above him. A smooth, silver shuttle was landing in the middle of the junkyard. People nearby stopped and stared. Such a clean and beautiful ship had never been seen in this part of the zone before. The shuttle door opened, and a tall man in a black suit stepped out. His clothes were too clean for this place. He looked around and then walked straight toward Taurine. "Are you Taurine?" the man asked, his voice calm and clear. Taurine stood up slowly, unsure. "Yes, I'm Taurine." The man handed him a small envelope. "This is an invitation. You are requested to join Master Iran this evening at Sky Tower." Taurine blinked. "Sky Tower? The floating tower?" "Yes," the man replied. "Master Iran wishes to meet you." Taurine opened the envelope. Inside was a card made of soft white metal. His name was printed in gold letters. Below it were words he didn't understand in an old Earth language. "Why me?" Taurine asked, still confused. The man gave a small smile. "Master Iran chooses carefully." Without another word, the man turned and walked back into the shuttle. Then he stopped and looked back. "The shuttle will return in 2 hours. Be ready." Then the shuttle lifted into the air and flew away. Taurine stood frozen for a long moment. People around him whispered. Some laughed. Others looked jealous. But no one had an answer. He went back to his shelter and washed his face. He cleaned his hands. He put on his least dirty shirt. Then he waited. Exactly 2 hours later, the silver shuttle returned. This time, Taurine walked in without fear. Inside was quiet and cool. The seats were soft. A gentle light filled the space. Taurine had never seen anything so clean. He sat still, trying not to touch anything. The shuttle rose into the air smoothly. Through the window, Taurine saw the lower zones grow smaller and smaller. Soon, the clouds surrounded them. Then, above the clouds, he saw it. The Sky Tower. It floated like a giant needle in the sky, built from white metal and glowing lines. Birds flew around it, and small lights blinked on its edges. The shuttle landed on a round platform. A glass door opened. A soft voice spoke. "Welcome, Taurine." Taurine stepped out. Inside, everything was shining. The walls were smooth. The floor was like silver glass. Soft music played in the background. A robot servant guided him through long halls. Finally, they entered a quiet room filled with green plants, books, and sunlight. A man with white hair sat on a chair near the window. He wore a long coat, and his eyes were kind. "You must be Taurine," the old man said. Taurine nodded. "Yes, sir. Please sit." "Don't be afraid." Taurine sat down on a soft chair. He felt small in this place, but the old man's voice was warm. "My name is Iran," the man said. "I've been watching the people of this planet for many years. I notice those who work hard and who never give up." Taurine stayed quiet. "I saw you fixing that old robot last month," Iran said. "And before that, I saw how you gave food to that little girl, even when you had none left for yourself." Taurine looked surprised. "You saw that?" "Yes," Iran smiled. "I have eyes in many places." But more than what you do, I care about why you do it. Tarin didn't know what to say. I invited you here, Aaron continued, because I believe you are special. You have something this world has forgotten. What is that? Tarin asked softly. Aaron looked out the window and then said, heart. Tarin looked down, unsure of what that meant. Aaron stood up and walked slowly to a table. He picked up a small silver cube and handed it to Tarin. This is for you, he said. It's a learning core. It can teach you about machines, science, languages, history, anything. Tarin's eyes grew wide. For me? Yes, and if you learn well, I will invite you again. There's more I wish to show you. Tarin held the cube tightly. Thank you, sir, Aaron smiled. Call me Aaron. Titles don't matter here. A robot came forward. It is time for the guest to return. Tarin stood. Will I see you again? If you choose to learn, Aaron said, then yes. And when you're ready, I will tell you a story about Earth and why we left it behind. As the shuttle took him back down to the dirty streets of Rallos 3, Tarin didn't feel poor anymore. He felt something new. Hope. The next morning, Tarin woke up earlier than usual. He didn't go to the scrapyard. He didn't look for work or food. Instead, he sat in his small shelter and stared at the silver cube Aaron had given him. It was smooth and cold to the touch. There were no buttons, no lights. Just a single line across the top, like a seam. He pressed it gently. Nothing happened. He spoke to it. Still nothing. He was about to give up when he remembered Aaron's words. If you choose to learn, this will teach you everything. Tarin sat quietly and focused. Teach me something, he whispered. Suddenly, the cube lit up with a soft blue glow. A tiny screen floated in the air above it, like magic. Welcome, user. Please select your learning path. Tarin blinked. Then slowly he said, machines. The screen changed. Symbols and diagrams filled the air. A soft voice began to speak. It explained gears, wires, power cells, all in simple words. Tarin spent the whole day listening, learning, repeating. His eyes were wide with wonder. He didn't feel hungry. He didn't feel tired. It was as if a door had opened in his mind. By the time the sun went down, he knew more than most of the adults in the scrapyard. And still he wanted more. Night, as he lay down, the voice of Aaron came back to his memory. If you learn well, I will invite you again. 3 days later, the silver shuttle returned. This time, Tarin was ready. He had washed his face, cleaned his clothes, and carried the cube in a cloth bag. The same man in the black suit greeted him with a short nod. Master Aaron is pleased with your progress, he said. Tarin smiled and stepped into the shuttle. As they flew above the city, he looked out the window again. The lower zones looked even smaller now. The lights of the sky tower grew larger as they rose. When they landed, Tarin noticed something new. This time, Aaron wasn't waiting in the inviting garden room. Instead, the robot servant guided him to a different part of the tower. They passed long hallways filled with moving lights. Doors opened and closed without sound. The air smelled clean, like fresh rain. At last they reached a round room with walls made of clear glass. The city below looked like a toy. The stars above felt close enough to touch. In the center of the room stood Aaron. Welcome back, Tarin, he said, smiling. Tarin bowed slightly. Thank you for inviting me again. Aaron pointed to a chair. Please sit. Today we will begin real training. Tarin sat down. What kind of training? Aaron's eyes grew serious. You've learned about machines. That is good. But machines are only part of the world. To change the world, you must also understand people. Tarin tilted his head. People? Yes, Aaron said. Their hopes, their fears, their choices. Leaders are not born. They are shaped by experience, by understanding. Tareen listened carefully. For many years, Iran continued, this galaxy has been ruled by those who care only for power. But power without wisdom is dangerous. That's why I've chosen you. But I'm just a poor boy, Tareen said softly. Iran shook his head. You are more than that. You've lived through pain, and yet you still show kindness. That is rare. He stood and walked to a control panel. With a wave of his hand, the room changed. A screen appeared in the air. It showed a colony on a nearby moon. The buildings were broken. People looked tired and weak. This is Celos 4, Iran said. Their energy systems are failing. Their crops are dying. No one helps them, not even the Central Council. Tareen looked at the sad faces on the screen. Children with hollow eyes, workers with bent backs. He clenched his fists. I want to help them, he said. Iran nodded. Good, but first you must learn how to help, not just with hands, but with heart. He pressed another button. A table rose from the floor. On it were tools, wires, and a small broken drone. Fix this, Iran said. But while you work, I will ask questions. You must listen and answer at the same time. Tareen looked at the drone. Its shell was cracked. The power wires were snapped. A simple repair, but under pressure, it would be a challenge. As he picked up a tool, Iran began. Why do people fear change? Tareen thought while connecting two wires. Because they don't know what will happen. Correct, Iran said. What is stronger, fear or hope? Tareen paused. Hope. But only if people believe in it. Very good. As they spoke, Tareen repaired the drone piece by piece. Iran continued asking questions, not about machines, but about people, emotions, history. Tareen did his best to answer each one. After 2 hours, the drone floated in the air, blinking blue. Iran smiled. Well done. Tareen looked up, surprised. Really? Yes, Iran said. Most adults can't answer those questions while doing technical work, but you did. That shows balance. Tareen felt pride rise in his chest. Iran walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. Tareen, I will tell you something few know. I was once part of something called the Terran Uplift Project, a secret mission to bring knowledge and hope to struggling colonies. Tareen's eyes widened. You were? Yes, but over time, the project was forgotten. Lost in greed and silence. I want to bring it back. And I want you to be part of it. Tareen didn't know what to say. I am old, Iran said. My time is ending, but you can carry the light forward. Tareen looked out the glass wall. At the stars. Then he looked at his hands. Do you really think I can do it? Iran smiled gently. I do. But only if you keep learning. The robot servant entered the room. It is time for the guest to return. It said softly. As Tareen stood to leave, Iran gave him a small badge. It showed a symbol, a tree growing on a star. What is this? Tareen asked. The symbol of hope. Iran said, keep it with you. One day, it will open doors you can't yet imagine. Tareen held the badge close. Thank you. As the shuttle flew back down through the clouds, Tareen didn't feel like just a visitor anymore. After returning from the sky tower, Tareen's world began to change slowly but deeply. Each day, he studied with the silver cube. It taught him about machines, space travel, old Earth history, and even alien languages. He'd practiced reading, solving problems, and building small things. His hands became steady. His thoughts grew sharp. He also kept the badge Iran gave him close to his chest. He tied it with a thin string and wore it under his shirt. It reminded him that someone believed in him, not just as a worker, but as something more. Still, life in the lower zones stayed hard. Tareen continued to sleep in his small shelter made of metal sheets. The dust still filled the air. The rich still flew above in clean towers, but now Tareen saw everything differently. He no longer felt trapped. He felt like he was climbing one step at a time. 1 week after his second visit, the silver shuttle returned. This time, it didn't land in the scrapyard. Instead, it hovered above the main square, where many poor families gathered to collect water. A voice from the shuttle called out, "Tareen of Zone 3, please come forward." People looked around. Some knew Tareen, others whispered. Many were confused. Tareen stepped out from the crowd, feeling both nervous and proud. As he walked toward the shuttle, the same man in the black suit opened the door and nodded. "Master Iran has sent something special today." Tareen stepped inside. But instead of flying up to the sky tower, the shuttle remained in place. The man handed Tareen a slim, flat package wrapped in silver cloth. "What is it?" Tareen asked. "A gift. Your next tool." Tareen opened the cloth carefully. Inside was a sleek, black band, smooth and light, with a single glowing line on top. "A wrist core," Tareen gasped. "But only High Council members use these." "This one is made for you," the man said. Tareen slid it onto his wrist. It fit perfectly. As soon as it touched his skin, a soft light blinked. "Welcome, Tareen. New user detected." "Activate Learning Companion?" Tareen looked up. "Yes," he whispered. A small floating screen appeared, and a voice not too loud, not too soft spoke to him. "I am Luma, your learning assistant," the man smiled. "This core connects directly to Sky Tower's systems. You can study, build, talk, and even scan machines with it. Use it wisely." Before Tareen could say thank you, the shuttle lifted into the air again and disappeared into the clouds. Back in his shelter, Tareen activated Luma fully. The voice asked him questions, guided him through complex lessons, and even gave him challenges. Build a power stabilizer using junk parts. Design a simple water filter for dirty rainwater. Draw a plan for a small flying drone. Tareen completed each task. Sometimes he failed, but Luma encouraged him. "Try again," the voice said. "Kindly, you are close." Within days, Tareen had built a working water filter from old wires, plastic sheets, and glass bottles. He shared the clean water with children in his zone. They laughed with joy. People started noticing him. "That's the boy who met the Sky Man." They whispered, "He's building things no one else can." But Tareen didn't care about fame. He cared about learning, helping, and growing. One evening, Luma gave him a strange message. "You have been granted access to Project Ember." "What's that?" Tareen asked. "A test from Master Iran. It is hidden in the deep systems of Sky Tower. You may choose to begin now." Tareen took a deep breath. "I'm ready." The screen changed. A 3D map of a damaged machine appeared. It was a large power unit, but many parts were missing. Sparks flew from it. A timer started counting. "Down. Your mission," Luma said, "is to repair this system before it fails." Tareen studied the machine. He recognized some parts, others were new to him. He thought carefully. Bit by bit, he moved pieces, rotated gears, and added wires. The timer ticked down. 5, 4, 3, 2. Click. The machine turned on. The sparks stopped. Test passed. "Very well done, Tareen." Suddenly, a new message appeared. "Master Iran wishes to speak with you." Tareen's heart jumped. "Yes." The wrist core's screen changed to show Iran sitting in his chair, the stars behind him. "You did well, Tareen," Iran said. "You solved a problem even some council engineers failed." Tareen smiled. "Thank you, sir." "No need for sir," Iran said with a chuckle. "I am proud of you." Tareen's eyes sparkled. "What is Project Ember?" Iran looked serious now. "It's part of something bigger. A hidden project meant to train future leaders of the stars. Not rich ones, not chosen by money, but by heart." Tareen nodded slowly, like, "The Terran Uplift Project?" Iran's eyes widened. "You remembered?" "Yes," Tareen said. "You told me once." Iran leaned forward. I see now that you're ready for the next step. If you agree, I will begin your training, not as a student, but as a possible leader. Tarin felt a lump in his throat. He had never thought someone would say these words to him. He was just a boy from the dust. And yet, I accept, he said quietly. Aaron smiled. Good, then listen carefully. 4. The next hour, Iran explained a new path. Tarin would start receiving private lessons sent daily to his wrist core. These lessons would be harder. They would teach politics, starship systems, energy grids, and even peaceful conflict solving. Luma would become more than a helper. She would become a full-time guide, able to give advice in real time that in one day. Soon, Tarin would travel outside Ralos 3, to a real colony in need, not just as a visitor, Iran said, but as someone with answers. Tarin's hands shook slightly. What if I make mistakes? You will, Iran said calmly. But mistakes are how we grow. The only real failure is to stop trying. As the call ended, Tarin sat in silence. He looked at his small shelter, the dusty walls, the tiny roof, the broken fan in the corner dot, and then he looked at his wrist core, glowing softly with light. He didn't feel small anymore. He felt like someone with a purpose. 2 days after the call with Iran, Tarin woke up before the sun rose. He didn't sleep much that night. His mind was full of thoughts, questions, and a little fear. But more than anything, he felt ready. Luma, the voice inside his wrist core, spoke gently as the sky turned from dark to orange. Tarin, today your journey begins. Your first mission will not be easy, but I will guide you. Tarin looked out the broken window of his shelter. The same dusty streets were there, the same cracked walls, but he no longer saw it as a prison. He saw it as the place where he began. Soon, the silver shuttle arrived, quiet as always. People in the zone had grown used to it by now. Some watched with curiosity. A few nodded at Tarin with respect. He had become something rare, a boy who rose without riches, without power, but with learning. Tarin stepped inside the shuttle. The man in the black suit was waiting. This time, he said, you are not going to Sky Tower. Tarin looked up. Then where? To a place called Moonbase Eleanor on a nearby moon. It's a small colony facing major problems. Power shortages, water issues. People are losing hope. Iran wants to see what you can do there. Tarin felt nervous, but also excited. This was his first real test. The flight was longer than usual. Through the window, Tarin saw Ralos 3 grow smaller behind him. Ahead, the moon of Eleanor looked gray and cold. As they landed, Tarin saw metal buildings, wind towers, and solar panels, but many were damaged. A few didn't work at all. He stepped out and felt the cold air, even inside his protective suit. The ground was rough. Workers looked tired. Children sat by empty water tanks. A woman walked toward him. Her face was lined with stress. You're the helper from Sky Tower? She asked, doubt in her voice. Tarin nodded. Yes, my name is Tarin. I'm here to see what I can fix. She looked him up and down. You're just a boy. I'm a learner, Tarin said. And I learn fast, the woman sighed. Well, if you want to try, follow me. Her name was Mira, and she was the local leader. She showed him the problem's solar panels that didn't charge, a broken energy converter, water pumps that made strange noises. Tarin listened carefully. He took notes using his wrist core. Then he walked through the colony, spoke with the people, and asked them questions. He didn't pretend to know everything. He just listened. That night, he sat alone with Luma and studied. He didn't sleep. He drew plans. He ran tests in the simulation on his wrist core. By morning, he had a plan. With Myra's help, Tarin gathered a few local workers. They didn't trust him yet, but they agreed to help. Tarin explained what they needed. Clean the solar panels, repair the power converter, and reset the backup generator. But more than that, he asked each worker what they thought. He listened. He respected their ideas. Slowly, the workers began to trust him. Together, they climbed towers, replaced wires, cleaned systems. Tareen used what he learned from the cube, and Luma to guide the repairs. By the end of the second day, the solar panels lit up for the first time in weeks. The power came back in parts of the colony. Lights turned on. Machines started humming. Children laughed. People smiled. Mira stared at Tareen amazed. You really did it." "We did it," Tareen corrected her. She smiled for the first time in days, but the work wasn't over. Tareen noticed something deeper. The people had grown used to hopelessness. They expected things to break. They expected no help. Tareen wanted to change that. He called for a meeting in the center of the colony. Everyone came, curious about the boy who fixed their lights. Tareen stood on a metal box and spoke, his voice steady. "I'm not here just to fix machines," he said. "I'm here to remind you of something important." The crowd listened quietly. "You have the power to build this place again. Not just with tools, but with trust, with teamwork, with hope. I can teach you what I've learned, but I can't do it alone." People looked at each other. Some nodded. "I was once like many of you," Tareen continued. "An orphan with no future, but someone believed in me, and now I believe in you." For the first time in many months, the colony didn't feel so cold. Over the next 3 days, Tareen taught small classes. He showed people how to use their own tools better, how to make simple repairs, how to connect broken systems. The people began fixing things on their own. They even started building a new greenhouse. Mira walked with Tareen one evening. The stars were bright above them. "You've done more than fix machines," she said. "You've awakened something here." Tareen smiled. "That's what Iran wanted me to learn, how to lead without fear." "Will you stay?" she asked. Tareen looked up at the sky. "I wish I could. But I have more to learn and more places to help. This is only the beginning." When the shuttle came back, the whole colony gathered to say goodbye. The children ran to Tareen and gave him a drawing, a picture of him with stars around his head and tools in his hands. "Thank you," Tareen said, touched by their kindness. As the shuttle lifted into the sky, he looked down at the moon colony. It no longer looked broken. It looked alive. Back in the sky tower, Iran waited. Tareen stood before him, tired but proud. "You did well," Iran said. "I didn't fix everything," Tareen replied. "But I gave them hope." Iran smiled. "Sometimes that is the greatest repair of all." He walked to a glass case and opened. Inside was a small silver badge with a glowing star at the center. "This is the mark of the legacy program," Iran said. "It is only given to those who carry the spirit of old Earth, those who lift others, not just themselves." He pinned the badge to Tareen's shirt. "You are now part of something much greater than you can imagine," Iran said. "Your real journey begins now." Tareen bowed his head. "I'm ready." As he stood in the glowing tower, with stars shining all around him, Tareen no longer felt like a boy from the scrapyard. He felt like a light meant to guide others in the dark. A few weeks passed after Tareen returned from Moonbase Eleanor. During that time, his training grew harder. The lessons on his wrist core became longer and more complex. He learned about colony design, energy systems, health planning, and how to deal with group conflicts. Luma guided him every day, always kind, always patient. But Tareen also noticed something strange. Iran had stopped calling him directly. No messages, no voice, no face on the screen. Luma only said, "He is watching. Be patient." One evening, as Tareen finished repairing an old drone near his shelter, a message finally appeared. "Tareen, it's time. Your biggest test awaits. Come to the launch port." Without waiting, Tareen packed his things and ran. At the port, a different shuttle was waiting, larger than before. The black-suited man stood outside, holding a small case. "You will need these," he said, handing it to Turin. Inside was a communicator, a mini toolkit, and an ID chip with Turin's name and a golden mark. "Legacy student." The man spoke again. "You are going to a planet called Velar 9. It is one of the oldest colonies, once rich, now broken." Turin listened carefully. Storms damaged their main systems. Crops are failing. People are scared. Leaders have given up. Iran wants you to help, but he will not guide you this time. Turin looked surprised. "I'll go alone?" The man nodded. "This is the real test, not of your skills, but of your spirit." The flight to Velar 9 took 2 days. The journey felt long, but Turin used the time to review plans, watch old colony maps, and prepare. When the shuttle landed, heavy clouds hung over the land. The sky was gray, the wind strong. Buildings leaned sideways. Solar towers were cracked. Plants in the fields were yellow and dry. Turin stepped outside, his boots sinking into wet soil. A group of people stood nearby. Their clothes were dirty, their eyes tired. A tall man with a long beard stepped forward. "You're the helper?" he asked, almost in disbelief. Turin nodded. "Yes, my name is Turin. You look young. I'm a student of Master Iran." The man's eyes changed. "Iran? I haven't heard that name in years." He introduced himself as Barrett, one of the last engineers of the colony. He led Turin to a small room in a half-working building. "We've had no real power for weeks," Barrett explained. "Water is low. The soil is weak. Our leader left. People are ready to leave too." Turin said quietly, "But this is your home." Barrett gave a bitter laugh. "Not much of one anymore." Turin opened his toolkit and set the communicator on the table. "Then let me help you fix it." Over the next few days, Turin walked through every part of the colony. He visited the power center, the water station, the crop fields, and the storm shields. He asked questions. He took notes. Everywhere he went, people stared at him. Some laughed, others ignored him. A few watched with quiet hope. He didn't argue. He just worked. With Luma's help, he repaired one broken power line after another. He used scrap to fix a broken water pump. He climbed the damaged wind towers during the soft rain, checking circuits and wires. Still, many problems remained. The main power core was failing. It was too old, too large to replace. The only way to fix it was to shut it down for one full day. But if he did, the whole colony would go dark, and the people would panic. Turin needed help. He gathered a group of engineers, workers, and even teenagers from the colony. In a quiet room, he drew a plan on the floor using chalk. "If we work together," he said, "we can fix the core in one night. But we must trust each other." A young woman named Lena stood up. "Why should we trust you?" Turin answered. "You don't have to. But if we do nothing, the system will fail anyway. At least this way, we try." There was silence. Then Barrett nodded slowly. "I say we give him a chance." One by one, others agreed. The night of the repair came. At sunset, the power was shut off. Everything went quiet. The wind howled outside. People lit lamps. Children held their parents' hands. The sky was dark, and fear filled the air. But inside the power station, Turin and his team worked like fire. Wires were replaced, pipes were cleaned, coolants were poured, tools moved fast. People followed Turin's voice, clear, calm, strong. Luma guided him step by step. "Now rotate the energy ring." "Good. Check the control board." "Excellent." For hours, no one stopped. No one gave up. At last, just before dawn, the final switch was ready. Turin looked at Barrett. "Shall we?" Together, they pressed the button. With a low hum, the lights flickered. Then the colony lit up. Every home, every tower, even the crop heaters. Cheers filled the air. People ran out of their homes, smiling, laughing, hugging each other. Taurine stepped outside. His hands were dirty, his clothes wet, but his heart was full. Lena ran up to him. "You did it." "No," Taurine said. "We did it." That afternoon, the colony held a small celebration. For the first time in months, there was music, food, and laughter. People danced, children played, and workers shared stories. Barrett stood next to Taurine. "You've done more than fix wires, boy. You reminded us of who we are." Taurine smiled. "That's what Iran taught me." "Iran?" Barrett looked into the distance. "We thought he gave up on us. But maybe he just waited for the right person." Taurine didn't answer. He just watched the people. Happy, alive, united. When the shuttle returned the next day, the colony gathered to say goodbye. Lena gave Taurine a small stone. "It's from our oldest mountain," she said. "It means strength." Taurine held it tightly. "Thank you. I'll never forget this place." As the shuttle rose into the clouds, Luma spoke softly. "Well done, Taurine. You passed the test. Not with machines, but with heart." Taurine looked at the sky ahead. "What comes next?" "The truth," Luma replied, "and a secret Iran has not yet told you." Taurine's eyes narrowed with curiosity. He was ready for whatever came next. Taurine returned to Ralos 3 in silence. The shuttle flew smoothly through the clouds, but his mind was not calm. Luma's last words echoed in his thoughts. "The truth. And a secret Iran has not yet told you." What secret? He looked out the window. Below, the poor zones of Ralos 3 stretched across the dusty land. Above, the shining sky tower floated peacefully in the golden light of sunset. A tower of knowledge, of hope, and of mystery. As the shuttle landed on the upper deck of Sky Tower, Taurine stepped out. The air was clean, the floor bright and smooth. The same black-suited man waited for him. "Iran is waiting in the central chamber," he said with a soft voice. Taurine followed him through quiet halls. This time, everything felt different. He noticed things he hadn't before, strange symbols on the walls, doors with old Earth numbers, lights that shifted color when he passed. Finally, they reached a large round room with tall glass windows. Stars shone through them like soft diamonds. Iran stood near a glowing table. He looked older, more tired. Yet his eyes were warm. "Taurine," he said, "you've done more than I hoped. You gave life to Vilernine." Taurine nodded. "The people helped me. I didn't do it alone." Iran smiled. "That's exactly why you succeeded." He turned toward the stars. "Do you remember the first day you came here?" Iran asked. "Yes," Taurine replied. "You told me I had something this world forgot. You said I had a heart." Iran gave a slow nod. "And you still do. That's why I must tell you the truth. Not just about me, but about everything." Taurine stepped closer, listening. Iran tapped the glowing table. A large map appeared in the air, showing planets, stars, and glowing paths between them. "This," Iran said, "is the map of the Terran Uplift Network. Long ago, it was a secret mission, created by Earth's last wise leaders. The goal was to help poor colonies rise through education, not war." He pointed at the map. "We were called architects. Not rulers, not fighters. We gave tools, training, and trust. We believed people could lead themselves if given a chance." Taurine looked at the lines across the stars. "What happened to the network?" Iran's face darkened. "It was betrayed." He sat down slowly, as if the weight of memory was heavy. "After I became an architect, I worked on many worlds. But soon, greed crept in. Some leaders wanted to turn the network into a business. They sold knowledge only to the rich. They left the poor behind. I spoke against it, and I lost everything." Taurine's eyes widened. "You were part of the council?" "Yes," Iran said softly. "And I failed. I stayed silent for too long. I followed rules when I should have broken them." Taurine stepped forward. "But you came back. You built this tower. You helped me, that matters. Iran smiled. Faintly. It took me years to understand that true power isn't in control, it's in lifting others. He paused and tapped another screen. A list of names appeared long, glowing blue letters. These are the last uplift candidates, he said. Chosen long ago. Most were never found. Many gave up, but one name remained. Tareen looked at the screen. His heart skipped a beat. His own name glowed at the top. Tareen status. Active. Tareen blinked. You knew about me even before I got the invitation? Iran nodded. I was watching. You were chosen as a child. Your parents were on the list too. They died working to keep this planet alive. Tareen's hands tightened. You knew all. This time, I waited until you were ready, Iran said gently. If I told you too early, you might have given up or become angry. Tareen didn't know what to feel. Anger, shock, sadness, gratitude, all mixed in his chest. Why tell? Me now? He asked. Because I'm dying, Iran said, without fear. I have a few weeks left. My body is failing. The tower will soon shut down without someone to lead it. Tareen took a step back. You mean, you want me to take your place? Iran looked into his eyes, not as me but as yourself. As the next architect, as a guide, not a ruler. Tareen's voice shook. I'm not ready. No one ever is, Iran said with a gentle laugh. But you have what I never did. You listen to people, and you believe in them. Tareen looked at the glowing map again. So many colonies, so many lives. He remembered the children of Vilernine, the joy on Mira's face, the drawing from Eleanor's kids, the clean water he helped bring to Zone-3. Maybe he really could do this. What do I need to do? He asked. Iran stood, placing a small crystal cube into Tareen's hand. This is the core key. It gives you control of the tower and access to the hidden knowledge of the Uplift project. He then handed Tareen a folded paper, real paper, rare and soft. I wrote this letter for you. Read it when I'm gone. Tareen held both items close to his heart. Iran's voice lowered. There's one more thing. Soon, other colonies will send messages. They'll ask for help. You must decide who to answer first. You will lead the way. I will try, Tareen whispered. Not try, Iran said with a final smile. Do. Later that night, Tareen stood alone in the sky garden. The stars looked clearer than ever. He thought of his parents, of the dusty streets, of the boy he used to be. Then he looked at the badge on his chest, the core key in his pocket, and the tower glowing quietly behind him. He didn't feel like an orphan anymore. He felt like a bridge between the forgotten and the future, and even though Iran would soon be gone, his dream would not die. Because now it lived in Tareen. A new sun rose over Relos-3. The tower in the sky still floated above the clouds, but everything inside it had changed. Iran was no longer there. His room was empty now, his chair quiet, and his voice only remained in memory. But his dream lived. Tareen stood before the round window where he had once met Iran. He wore a new robe, plain gray with a blue stripe. On his chest was the symbol of the Terran Uplift Project, a circle rising above a hand. The core key hung around his neck. Was not just a boy anymore. He was now an architect. Tareen single quotes S first message came from a planet called No QAR-5. The people there had lost their main power station. They lived in cold nights, used broken tools, and couldn't grow crops. Tareen remembered how Zone 3 had suffered the same way. Without hesitation, he sent a reply. Help is coming. Prepare your engineers. We will teach, not give. Together we rise. Within a week, he flew there himself. He brought solar modules, clean water devices, and most importantly, books and knowledge tablets. He worked side by side with their workers. He shared meals with their children. And before he left, The people clapped not for what he brought, but for what he left behind. Hope. Back on Ralos 3, something amazing happened. The people of the lower zones began to notice the change. The sky tower no longer looked like a symbol of distance. It now sent down lights of learning every night. Drones dropped study tablets in every zone. Mobile schools appeared, with hologram teachers speaking many languages. Even the scrapyard where Tarin had once worked became a science lab. The young started dreaming again. They didn't just want to survive. They wanted to build one day. An old woman from Zone 5, who had watched Tarin grow up, came to the sky tower. She stood at the gates and asked to see him. The guards let her through. When Tarin saw her, he ran forward and smiled warmly. Auntie Mira. She held his face in her hands. I told you one day you would touch the stars, she said with teary eyes. But I never thought you would bring the stars back to us. Tarin hugged her. This tower belongs to all of us now. Tarin didn't work alone. He gathered a small team of young leaders from different colonies. One of them was Luma, the girl from Velar 9 who had helped him repair the colony's systems. Another was Darren, a blind boy who had learned to design machines using sound. Together they called themselves the Circle of Light. They traveled across the stars, not as rulers, but as helpers. They fixed wells, taught farming, installed communication beacons, and created a vast knowledge bridge that connected the forgotten worlds. Wherever they went, they left behind not wealth, but the tools for growth. One evening, Tarin sat alone. In the garden of the sky tower, he held the letter Iran had given him. Until now, he hadn't opened it. Carefully, he unfolded the soft paper. The words were written by hand. Dear Tarin, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer there. But that is fine. My time was ending, and yours is beginning. I once believed that only the powerful could lead. But now I know. The best leaders are those who never asked for power, but still chose to lift others. You were never just an orphan. You were always more strong, kind, and brave. Please don't let the light die. Share it. Spread it. Protect it. And remember, an architect does not build alone. He builds with others. Thank you for giving me peace, Iran. ****. Tarin folded the letter and closed his eyes. A small tear fell on his hand. Not of sadness, but of deep respect. Years passed. Tarin became known across many systems. Children in poor zones whispered his name like a tale from old times. He never built a palace. He never wore a crown. But people listened to him because they knew he listened to them. On the 10th anniversary of Iran's death, Tarin stood before a large crowd in Ralos 3. Thousands had gathered in the old spaceport, now transformed into a learning hall. He looked at the young faces and raised his hand. I was once like you, he said. I ate from broken plates. I slept under broken roofs. But someone believed in me, and now I believe in you. He paused, letting the silence grow. We are not born great. We become great when we choose to stand when others sit. When we choose to give when we have little. And when we choose to build, not break. The crowd cheered. Not because of his words, but because they saw themselves in him. At night, Tarin walked alone to a small room at the top of the tower. There, on a wooden table, was a single picture. It showed a boy in dirty clothes standing beside an old man in white. Both were smiling. Tarin touched the photo gently. Thank you, Iran. He whispered. You changed my life. Now I'll change 1,000 more. He turned, stepped onto the shuttle pad, and looked at the stars. So many stories waiting to be written. So many voices waiting to be heard. And one boy, now a man who would never forget where he came from.